Welcome back. This week's news starting with 4 astronauts reached ISS, Vega launch failure, SNET prototype test, Spaceship 2 launch delay, Europa glowing in dark, Rocket Labs launch 30 satellites and India to send a Bhutan satellite in the upcoming year. Stay till the end, you will enjoy it. First news, SpaceX Crew 1 mission successful. Commander Michael Hopkins, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Shannon Walker, all Americans and mission specialist Suichi Noguchi, the first Japanese astronaut to perform a spacewalk outside the space station with the 4 astronauts who reached ISS on the 17th of November. They launched from Kennedy Space Center from the Launch Complex 39A on 16th of November on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket in Dragon capsule. The mission is the first crewed night launch by the United States since that of STS-131 in April 2010. The astronauts have named their Dragon capsule as Resilience. Given all the challenges of 2020, coronavirus and social isolation, protest against racial injustice, and a particularly difficult election and campaign season. Upon docking with the ISS, the 4 will be welcomed by the current crew of 2 Russians and 1 American, bringing the space station's complement to 7 for the first time in its history. The crew will conduct science research on such topics as botany and cancer and are expected to return in 2021 in the month of May. NASA retired the space shuttle fleet in 2011. The agency has had to buy seats on the Russian Soyuz spacecraft for its flight to the ISS. With Launch America, they are back on their feet, and these milestones are proving for a successful Artemis mission coming soon in the year 2024. With this mission, SpaceX Dragon becomes the first privately operated shuttle to dock at the space station after test flight. Second news, Rocket Lab launches 30 satellites and recovers its boosters. Rocket Lab's 2-stage Electron booster lifted off from the company's New Zealand launch site on November 20th at 8 am IST. It carried 30 satellites to low Earth orbit and the mission was named as Return to Sender. The name for the mission comes from after its part of the flight wrapped up, the Electron's first stage came back down for a guided parachute-aided splashdown in the Pacific Ocean, about 400 miles off the New Zealand coast. The company has recovered the first stage from the Pacific Ocean and is yet to inspect it so that it can value how much reusable can be the recovered stage. Reusables are one of the key aspects that will lead us to a successful space exploration, as they can drastically reduce the cost of space travel, making it more feasible and accessible. If no reusables, then it seems like you have to buy a new car once you reach the destination, just after one use. And in terms of rockets, millions are lost. Hence, the reusability can bring down the cost of rockets and make it economical for future space exploration. Third news, India to send Bhutan satellite. The 2 sides signed a framework agreement on Thursday for enhancing cooperation in the peaceful use of space that will foster collaboration between several institutions of the 2 countries. Bhutan launched its first nanosatellite, Bhutan 1, which was built with Japan's assistance on a SpaceX rocket in June 2018. Listen to this quote, India opened its space sector for private enterprises. It will boost innovation, capacity and skills. ISRO will be sending Bhutan satellites next year and work on that is progressing fast, as said by the Prime Minister. Also, he said, like other Indians, I have great love and friendship with Bhutan. When I meet you all, it's like meeting our own. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated a ground earth station of the Indian Space Research Organization in Thimphu, Bhutan last year. And with the satellite deal, the 2 nations are coming together for a great space exploration. Fourth news, European Vega rocket launch failure. An Arianespace Vega rocket suffered a major failure shortly after launch on Monday, November 16, leading to loss of satellites for Spain and France. The 4-stage Vega rocket lifted off from the Guiana Space Center Kourou, French Guiana, at 8:52 pm EST and appeared to fly smoothly during the early mission phases, but 8 minutes into the flight, something went wrong. We can now confirm that the mission is lost. Arianespace CEO Stéphane Israël said during a launch webcast. Just after Vega ignited its upper stage called Avam, it veered off course on a degraded trajectory, according to the Arianespace. The rocket never made its next expected contact with the ground stations. Arianespace engineers are working to pin down what led to the loss of Vega launch vehicle and its two payloads, an Earth-watching satellite for Spain called SEO-SAT Ingenio and the Transnis satellite for France Space Agency (CNES). In July 2019, a Vega rocket failed during the launch of a satellite for the United Arab Emirates. A subsequent investigation found that a faulty motor on the booster was to blame. The Vega rocket returned to flight this year on September 2 when one of the rockets was used to launch 53 small satellites for 21 different customers. That mission was a complete success. Investigation is set to carry out and find the reason for the failure of this mission. Fifth news: SpaceX Starship SN8 prototype test. SpaceX's latest Starship prototype just fired its engines for the second time, potentially paving the way for a 9-mile, that is 15 kilometers test flight in the near future. Starship is SpaceX's next generation spaceflight system, which the company is developing to help colonize Mars, launch satellites to orbit and do everything else SpaceX needs done. The system consists of 165 foot tall, that is 50 meters spacecraft called Starship, and a giant rocket known as Super Heavy, which will get its partner vehicle off Earth. Starship will be powerful enough to launch itself off the Moon and Mars. Both of these fully reusable vehicles will be powered by SpaceX's new Raptor engine. Starship will sport 6 Raptors and Super Heavy will have about 30. SpaceX is iterating towards the final Starship design via a series of increasingly ambitious prototypes. For example, SN8 features 3 Raptors, whereas none of its predecessors had more than one. Those 3 engines will take SN8 far higher than any other Starship prototype has gone, about 9 miles, that is 15 kilometers, as said by Musk. 3 Starship vehicles have gotten off the ground to date, all flying to a maximum altitude of about 500 feet, that is 150 meters. The stubby Starhopper did so in the summer of 2019, and SN5 and SN6 followed the suit in August and September of this year respectively. Sixth news: Jupiter's moon Europa glows in dark. The icy Jupiter moon Europa is an astrobiological beacon, quite literally glowing in the deep darkness far from the sun. Jupiter's intense radiation environment likely lights up Europa's icy shell, which overlies a huge potentially habitable ocean of salty liquid water, found by the researchers. One of the scientists said that if Europa weren't under this radiation, it would look the way our moons look to us, dark on the shadowed side. But because it's bombarded by the radiation from Jupiter, it glows in the dark. Scientists might be able to observe the globe closely relatively soon, as NASA's Europa Clipper probe is scheduled to be launched in the year 2024. Clipper will orbit Jupiter but scrutinize Europa on dozens of flybys, gathering data that will help researchers assess the moon's habitability and plan out a life-hunting Europa lander mission. The lander has been mandated by Congress, but it remains a concept at the moment, not a fully fledged NASA mission. It will launch sometime after the Clipper does. Seventh news: Spaceship 2 test launch delay. Virgin Galactic's next flight to suborbital space won't take place in the coming days after all. The company will reschedule the third crewed test flight of its VSS Unity space plane, which had been targeted to take off from New Mexico's Spaceport America between November 19 and November 23. As a result of surge of COVID-19 infections sweeping across the state, the nation and much of the world. The upcoming third space flight will be the first of the Unity makes from the Spaceport America, the hub of the company's commercial operations. It will be the first human space flight ever conducted from New Mexico. About 600 people have bought a ticket to ride Spaceship 2 at a price of mostly $250,000 per seat, which is around 1,85,30,000 in Indian rupees. The company paused ticket sales a while back but plans to reopen them next year after Virgin Group founder Richard Branson flies aboard VSS Unity. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, otherwise you won't get my new videos notification. Let me know in the comments which news you think was the best in this week, and also don't forget to like and share. Follow up on Instagram, link in description. Meet you guys in the next news video, and I will be dropping new videos between the weeks, so make sure you have subscribed. That's the end of this week's space news. Until next time, keep learning and keep enjoying. Thank you. Check out the other videos.